Lord Vader, G-Man, here to serve you. What is your command?
The fool has said, in his heart there is no God. They are corrupt.
I realize the error of my ways now. Deep down, I think I've always believed that God existed.
I told you we was gonna burn in hell for that.
Ridiculous things should be ridiculed in order to weed them out. Nobody should be rich. This video is subtly titled, "Your Girl is a Whore." Yes, your girl.
Women were considered property.
When you say faith is rational and evidence-based, I mean, if that were true, it wouldn't need to be faith, would it? I mean, if there were evidence for it, why would you need to call it faith? You'd say just evidence. And when you said that faith in relativity, in Einstein's theory of relativity, is evidence-based, that of course it is. But the evidence is all important. I mean, Einstein's predictions fit in with observed fact and with a whole body of theory, whereas we only need to use the word faith when there isn't any evidence.
No, not at all. I presume you've got faith in your wife. Is there any evidence for that? On
Yes,
which you
plenty.
base it? Yes.
Plenty of evidence. Let's generalize it. Never mind about my wife. Let's generalize it.
It's the same with Biden, Richard. It's the same with Biden. Because atheism is a faith, of course, as well.
It's not.
Of course it is.
Well, okay.
Don't you believe it?
Most of these are very simple questions, and just short answers I think will do for most of these. In your debate with Peter Payne, you said, and you made the statement, and I've got the quote here, all actions are situational. There is not an action that is right or wrong. I can think of an exception in any case. Do you believe that?
Yeah, but the probability of some of those exceptions actually happening are so small that we can rule them out. But
Absolutely.
We could think of it, yes.
Great, okay. So in that, you said a person came up to the mic and they said, when would rape be acceptable? And you said that exact statement. You said, well, most of them you can almost rule them out, but hypothetically, if a bunch of aliens came down and said, we're going to destroy all of humanity if you don't rape a girl, would you do that? And you said in that debate, yes, it would be morally acceptable to rape that girl to save all of humanity. Do you still believe that?
It would be horrible. It would be regrettable. I would hate myself. I would probably kill myself after doing it, but I would have the courage, if that was the only option, if that were the only option, then I would go through with it. I would pity that woman. I would pity myself.
Genesis 1:28, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. So let's talk about the book of Exodus. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land.
Okay. A lot of people has been asking me for a while about, G-Man, why you keep saying that atheists don't exist? Well, if you look at this, at your screen right now, this is where I got my information from. Well, this is one of my sources. Obviously, I use the Bible and other things as well, but you guys boast about knowing science. You keep saying that science is the best way to understand the natural world, but now science and scientists are saying that atheists don't exist. It's not possible. You can't scientifically explain it. Just read it for yourself. It'd blow your mind.
Islam is the most bloody, stupid fucking religion, followed by towelhead idiots all around the globe. And I don't think that's a racist statement.
You're so stupid! The atheist worldview. Do you know what the atheist worldview is? Do you know what the Christian worldview is? Do you know what the Muslim worldview is? Do you know what the Buddhist worldview is? Well, the atheist worldview is very much like all the other worldviews, with one subtle difference. The Christian worldview believes in the Christian God. The Muslim worldview believes in the Muslim God. The Hindu worldview believes in the Hindu God. The Buddhist worldview, well, they're practically atheists. The atheist worldview doesn't believe in any God.
No, it's not that simple, and I'll tell you why. Okay? While God is in my worldview and God is not in your worldview, there's more things to your worldview than you're letting up. Let's take a look at what those things are.
What kind of behavior would you expect to happen in a secular town where God has been kicked out? Well, you're going to have things like a higher divorce rate. You're going to have much higher crime. You're going to have gang violence. You will have teen pregnancies. You will have things like drug and alcohol abuse. All these type of things increase in secular societies. That's historically accurate.
Said no historian ever. Let's take a look at some statistics. It's been widely reported that the number of people with no religious affiliation has increased significantly in the last few decades. According to the 2008 American Religious Identification Survey, the number of people who reported their religious preference as none rose from 8% in 1990 to 15% in 2008. Has this led to an increase in crime? Apparently not.
Atheists are so dishonest. Let's take a look at your real history, shall we?
Compared to the secular humanist and cosmic humanist worldviews, the Marxist-Leninist worldview is very well developed. Its theology is atheism, its philosophy dialectical materialism, and its ethics are called proletariat morality. Its biology is based on Darwinian punctuated evolution. Its psychology on monistic Pavlovian behaviorism, and its sociology calls for the abolition of the home, church, and state. Marxist-Leninists hold to positive law. They base their politics on a new world order. Their economics are socialism, and their view of history is called historical materialism. Fyodor Dostoevsky, author of the classic Russian novels Crime and Punishment, and the brothers Karamazov, recognized the basic flaw of Marxism many years ago. Dostoevsky: the problem of communism is not an economic problem. The problem of communism is the problem of atheism.
In 1871, Darwin published another book, The Descent of Man, in which he claimed that man evolved from some ape-like creatures. Darwin was unable to provide any evidence supporting his claims, but clearly fabricated some imaginary scenarios. Darwin also embraced an interesting thought. He asserted that some races were more evolved and therefore more advanced than others, whilst other races, on the other hand, he considered still to be at the same level as the apes. There was another important aspect to Darwin's theory. He erected his entire theory on the concept of struggle for survival. According to him, a fierce conflict, a bloody struggle pervaded the natural world. The strong always won against the weak, and thus ensured development.
The Communist Party's campaign against the peasants was not just about land. It was an attempt to destroy much of traditional Russian culture and religion. Many of the early documents reveal the party's determination to eliminate the influence of the church. The man-made religion of communism could tolerate no rivals. The belief in God had to be destroyed. The belief in God had to be destroyed. It was a holy war, but a war against the idea of the holy and the sacred. The belief in God had to be destroyed. It was a holy war, but a war against the idea of the holy and the sacred. The belief in God had to be destroyed. It was a holy war, but a war against the idea of the holy and the sacred, against the demands of conscience and morality beyond politics.
January 19, 1918. Decree on freedom of conscience and of religious organizations. 1. There is a separation of church and state. 2. The conduct of state or other public legal social establishments will not include any religious rituals or ceremonies. 3. Religious vows and oaths are abolished. If necessary, only a solemn promise will be given. 4. No church or religious organization may have private property. They do not have the rights of legal persons. 5. All properties of churches and religious organizations in Russia are declared to be public property. Chairman of the Council of People's Commissars, Lenin.
Lenin himself was quite personally and virulently anti-clerical as well as being an atheist. In March of 1922, he sent a letter via Molotov to other members of the Politburo. In it, he talks about combating religion in a village called Shui, where the Red Army had been disarmed by the peasants, outraged at them going into a church and removing property.
To Comrade Molotov, for the members of the Politburo, please make no copies for any reason. In regard to the occurrence at Shua, it is necessary right now to make a firm decision about a general plan of action. Now and only now, when people are being eaten in famine-stricken areas and hundreds, if not thousands of corpses lie on the roads, we can and therefore must pursue the removal of church property with the most frenzied and ruthless energy, and not hesitate to put down the least opposition, in order to secure for ourselves a fund of several 100 million gold rubles. Therefore, I come to the indisputable conclusion that we must precisely now smash the Black Hundred's clergy most decisively and ruthlessly and put down all resistance with such brutality that they will not forget it for several decades.
But now some controversial research from across the Atlantic. A study from the University of Rochester in America suggests atheists are smarter than those of faith. Suggests atheists are smarter than those of faith. Suggests atheists are smarter than those of faith.
Baptist Christian for more than 25 years. I've been hosting the Atheist Experience Show for 10. I've been doing lectures and debates. I've talked about the Bible. I have some expertise in the area. I've studied it in detail, and I am not a Bible expert or a Bible scholar.
As far as the Christian thing goes, if you want to have a discussion on what true Christianity is, I'm quite qualified to be able to discuss that. I've been studying this since 1980. I do know what it is. It's what I do. That's another topic if you're ever interested in seriously. So that I got 8 years on you then, because so that you don't misrepresent Christianity again, because you've done it a couple of times. No disrespect meant, but you have. You've misrepresented the issue of denominational differences. The denominational differences are in adiaphora. Do you know what adiaphora is?
No.
Okay. You know what a hypostatic union is?
No.
Communicati idiomatum. The difference between justification, imputation, sanctification?
No.
Okay. What kind of evidence would you expect from a transcendent being?
That depends. What's it trying to transcend?
This is why Professor Richard Dawkins, one of the most renowned advocates of the theory of evolution of our day, hesitates when he is asked to give a single example that increases the genetic information.
A genetic mutation or an evolutionary process which can be seen to increase
Professor Dawkins, can you give an
genome?
example of a genetic mutation or an evolutionary process which can be seen to increase the information in the genome?
Can you just stop when I...
Who did create the heavens and the earth?
Why do you use the word who? You see, you immediately beg the question by using the word who.
Well, then how did it get created?
Well, by a very slow process.
Well, how did it start?
Nobody knows how it started. We know the kind of event that it must have been. We know the sort of event that must have happened for the origin of life.
And what was that?
It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule.
Right. How did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No, nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in evolution?
It could come about in the following way. It could be that at some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved by probably some kind of Darwinian means to a very, very high level of technology and designed a form of life that they seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility and an intriguing possibility. And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer.
Wait a second. Richard Dawkins thought intelligent design might be a legitimate pursuit?
And that designer could well be a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe. But that higher intelligence would itself have had to have come about by some explicable or ultimately explicable process. It couldn't have just jumped into existence spontaneously. That's the point.
So Professor Dawkins was not against intelligent design, just certain types of designers, such as God. So
I'm an ape.
Yeah.
Are you an ape?
No, I'm not. I'm a human being.
The refusal to believe in anything you can't see yourself is absurd. Think about it. I never saw Napoleon with my own eyes, but that doesn't mean Napoleon didn't exist. The refusal to believe in anything you can't see yourself is absurd.
Well, I've never seen God a day in my life, not with my own two eyes. Doesn't mean he doesn't exist. The fool says in his heart that there is no God. So if you're an atheist, you're a fool.